Let's talk about deposits. You should always make all of your clients pay a deposit for every single one of your events. And if you are a customer looking to book a balloon artist, face painter, or other entertainer for your event, I would not recommend booking an artist that does not require you to pay a deposit. Just like contracts, deposits are intended to protect both the entertainment and the client. As the old saying goes, put your money where your mouth is. Or to use a different adage, where your treasure is, there will your heart be also. In other words, people have no problem putting money down for things that are important to them. The only clients I've ever had that really dragged their feet on paying a deposit or refused to pay a deposit were the clients who weren't really sure if they wanted to have the event or wanted to have entertainment for the event in the first place. And from the client's side of it, if you have not paid down a deposit or given money to the entertainment, you have no guarantee that they are going to show up at your event. That is why for all events that we do, our policy is the event is not confirmed until the deposit has been received. And if a client refuses to pay a deposit, you do not need them as a client, because if they refuse to pay the deposit, what makes you think they're good for the final payment? Now let's get into the details. We require a 50% deposit up front in order to book the event. Now that 50% deposit goes towards the total, and then the remaining balance is due the day of the event upon arrival. Now this 50% deposit is non-refundable, but it is transferable to another event at a different date and time, as long as you cancel or reschedule your event more than 2 weeks out from the date of your event. Now if you cancel or reschedule your event less than 2 weeks out from the date of your event, you lose your deposit, because that money goes to pay the artists who have been holding that date and time for your event. Because when you book an event at a specific date and time, that artist has to reserve that date and time for you, and then they're turning down every other event that wants to book them at that same date and time. And then when you cancel less than 2 weeks out, it's not just that they're missing the money that they would have made from doing your event, they're also missing the money from all of the events that they turned down at that same date and time, that they can no longer get those events because less than 2 weeks out, those events would have already booked someone else or another company. So that's why you lose your deposit. And our policy is that if you cancel or reschedule your event less than 24 hours from the date of the event, not only do you lose your deposit, but you also owe the full remaining balance as well. Now, of course, there are exceptions to every rule. For example, we've had people who had to cancel an event because a family member died last minute. Of course, I am going to either transfer their deposit or refund their deposit. No questions asked. We also had during COVID, when there was lockdowns and people were prevented from having events, we had to refund a lot of deposits and we had to transfer a lot of deposits, and we lost a lot of money because of that, but it was the right thing to do. So of course there are always exceptions to the rule, but the general rule should be that you require a deposit from your clients for all events. Now, one thing I want to talk about is rain dates. We don't do rain dates. Let me explain why. So sometimes clients will want to book a rain date. And what a rain date means is we want to book you for this event, but if it gets rained out, we want to have you already scheduled for the backup date. The problem is what you're saying is, if you have a rain date scheduled, that means you know for a fact that you are not going to use one of those dates. So you want to book me for 2 dates, knowing you're not going to need me for one of them. So let's use actual days as an example. Let's say someone wanted to book me for an event on January 1st, but they have a rain date of January 7th. Okay, so they're saying, we have our event on January 1st, but if it gets rained out, we're going to have our event on January 7th, and we want you to be there. Well, the problem is if the event goes well and the weather's perfect on January 1st, now they don't need me on January 7th, but I've been holding that date and not booking other events at that date and time. I've been reserving that for this client, and now I can't book anything else in that place, right? But I've been holding that, so now I'm just out of the money that I could have booked an event at that date and time. But on the flip side, let's say it is raining on the date of the 1st. Well, then that event gets canceled, but I could have booked something else in that time slot that was an indoor event. So now I have to so either way, I get screwed out of money because I'm having to book 2 dates but only getting paid for 1. So that's why we don't do rain dates. The only way I would even consider doing a rain date is if I was paid the full amount up front for both dates. I've been doing this for 32 years and I've rarely had anyone complain about having to leave a deposit. And the ones that do complain about having to leave a deposit, and I end up, making an exception and working with them and saying, okay, you know what, in this case, I'll make an exception. I understand you have a unique circumstance or whatever, and I won't require a deposit. Almost every single time that event cancels last minute. Oh, and guess what? Now you don't get a deposit. Now you're out of the money. Oops, sorry, our bad. So that's why I require a deposit from everyone, because the few times I've made an exception and I didn't require a deposit, they left me high and dry. Now, as far as payment methods for the deposit, we try and be accommodating and accept everything. We primarily prefer Venmo and Zelle. We also do accept check. We have accepted cash. We also have accepted Cash App on rare occasions. We try not to do PayPal because PayPal takes a cut. So if someone tries to leave you a deposit with PayPal, you don't get the full amount of that deposit because PayPal takes some of that. Same thing with credit cards. So we do accept credit card payments because some corporations, the only way they can make a deposit is through credit card, but we do charge a convenience fee or a processing fee for all credit card payments. But I honestly feel like getting deposits should be standard operating procedure for all entertainment companies, whether you're a balloon artist, face painter, stilt walker, any form of entertainment, because again, it protects you as the artist, because if they have money down, you know that they plan on having you for this event. You know that they're committed to it because they've put money down on it, so they're committed. And on the flip side, if you're a customer, you know that your artist is committed to attending and being at your event because you've paid them money. They're not going to just flake or bail on you because they have your money. So it protects both parties. That's why I think deposits should just be standard.